I forgot to that was the point. I will go slowly. I repeat, there are different methods of costing and estimating based on the situation of study, situation of project, whether at the initial stage, pre-planning, or during or after post-project. Accordingly, the method will vary. And again, based on the parameters you have in hand, the information you have in hand, it may be either rough just by getting an opinion to start with, or having some information based data, and you can predict and forecast for a cost of a project also possible. Or lastly, if you have an itemized one, you can have itemized one added up cumulatively. Sum of all costs of the elements will constitute the project cost. So it depends on the project. More rigorous method you have to follow, accounting and business people. There should be one person appointed for project to take care of this cash flow. Project scheduling. Next comes the scheduling. Scheduling, whenever they say it should be a time, right? There should be a time, there should be an activity, there should be many factors that you learn in project characteristics. Repeat, but in more elaborate terms are here. You have to explain the sequence. What comes first, which one given priority, which one given priority at the same time. It's also tagged with the time. Sequence tagged with the time. Whether the activity or tasks are one after another, like you do test 1, test 2, then go for final exam, or you do test 1, also do assignment 1, then it is a parallel activity. So you must have a plan when you want to do your activities, whether it's a consequent or followed one or parallel one, with a time frame. For the performance of construction example, like construction activities, some activities is very good example I can give you from construction. Construction of foundation, right? They dig the soil, they start constructing the foundation. All this framework will be going on, right? The eventually they can also do when these actual construction is going on at the same site. If there is any prefabrication work required for their windows, doors, right, and other fixtures, they will also start doing it. So as an engineer, you have to attend both of them. These are two activities going parallelly. And then comes curing. The time of curing, the after conclusion, there is a time given for curing. During this time, you may go for rechecking the objectives, rechecking the design or monetary issues. All these things can be attended. So you can even either overlap or do one after another. All these things can be attended here to determine when to order and deliver materials and equipment, right? The scheduling must have the time of materials in and out, right? Materials in and out, stock in and stock out. When the expiry, when is the expiry? All these stock exchange have to be maintained and then monitored in a project schedule. Project schedule should show, first of all, it should show the time and the activity. Parallelly, right? Eventually, you should also mention about and word, like for example 1 year project, third month, take third month, you should also have how much material coming in, how much material finished, are yet to order. All this information should be tagged. Then it is called project scheduling. To show, it's because managing, right? You're not managing one. That is why project management has to be studied separately as a skill. You're not managing one. You're not managing only the labor, only the material. There are so many things involved, right? Number 1, time. Number 2, cost. Number 3, material. Number 4, labor. Number 5, the risk involved, right? There may be threats and risks or something unexpected things may happen. You have to handle them. Uh, what else? Quality, right? Quality also matter. You cannot compromise any of these factors to achieve one, right? They are going hand in hand. You must play a fair role, satisfying, fulfilling all these parameters or the entities in a project schedule to show the impact of productivity related problems on the project completion. Yeah, why all these things needed? To know What is the impact? What is the consequence if the material is not received today? What is the consequence if the people are now COVID-19, right? If the labor, there is a shortage of labor, no foreign workers return or all are sent and they're not returning, and the works are all got stuck. What is the other? That is why many of the companies in the world, they have started implementing IR4 more in this few months time. I don't know how, sorry, I have to bit deviate only, then only understand. I mean, it's important point. Computer field, all of you know it's unstable, fluctuating, right? Going up and down, going up and down. One time there was a situation, got saturated. Many of the computers staffs and computer engineers have to go off, right? Um, Gone out of job or production and so on. Now, in this period, COVID-19, because of this uh, pandemic and lockdown situation, many companies cannot run with mass of people, right? Group of people, all these SOPs and so on. IR4, IR4, where the human intervention, right? Biological use of human intervention or human contact should be less. Eventually, the IR4 has developed a lot. In doing so, they got improved more IT technologies. There are more openings and employments happening for IT technologies, IT people to develop all the software and hardware and intelligent methods to come out with bridging the gap of lack of labors, right? Automation has taken high priority in this pandemic time against the normal. We cannot get people, we cannot complete the construction or work on time, deliverables on time. So you have to know the impact. Number one, you have to know the impact to show impact of productivity, related problems on the project completion, right? Any impact that is preventing, that is suppressing the production must be attended. It is that to provide communication tool between consultants, contractors, owners, and suppliers. Yeah, keep them informed, right? Or all those that keep them informed. Otherwise, there may be chances of duplication of ordering, duplication of human employed, right? And then the materials and so on. Hence, you have to have a communicating, keep communicating, updating people. Nowadays, the softwares are available. With that, it is still manageable. To meet contractual obligation, the project schedule must have contractual obligation. Otherwise, you cannot know where you are earning. What is your? It's called milestone. Must have milestones. The obligations like uh, within 1 year of contract, all the I mean preliminary works or planning, scheduling, everything should be done, and everything project should be ready to go. And next 1 year, third year, or it may be applicable to the work, it may be applicable to the staff, it may be applicable to the activities, uh, or the even the quality also has some contractual obligations, how long it can be used, and then what time is the monitoring, how often they have to be calibrated and be uh, checked against its performance, all have to be met with. So project scheduling is not one, it has sequence, time frame, deliverables, impacts, right? Impacts or any threats, communication, must have communication, a person in charge, in other words, person in charge should be written there. And lastly, contractual obligations. By this year, the first term of project has finished. You can no more monitoring or follow up with this particular space, go for the next phase, and the person's works, the time, everything will be new. So must know that contractual things, the milestones, especially milestones, the due dates, the bonding agreement, all these things should be fulfilled within the project scheduling. Some general procedure in scheduling. Yeah, this is same as this one, scheduling, detailed one, a bit of more explanation on this. This is a summary of what should be there in a project scheduling. Having said, it's again a repetition of characteristics of the project. Based on that, should have established the project objectives that are to be achieved. Must have the objectives. Started with the objectives, right? Actually, when we need a project to solve a crisis, to upgrade, to improve, to revamp, right? Or to produce, to get transformation, to get solved a problem. All these things will give rise to a development of a project, isn't it? So in this project, you must have the objectives set, right? What are the objectives? What are the outcome expected from the project? Otherwise, there is no project needed at all. And then outcome should be, already just now we explained, it should be smart. Your designs should be smart enough. Otherwise, no one will come, or no need, no potential outcome will be expected. No objective set, no potential outcome. Determine work activities and sequencing. So number one is subjective, number two is activities and sequencing. Activities should be listed down. Once you know the objectives, each objectives may have two, three activities, or you can have three objectives, exactly three objectives and three activities. You can align in any way depending on the project. And then sequencing is also important. Once you know the object, you can align, list down the activities involved in, and then sequence which comes first, which goes second. Even in the sequence, sometimes maybe parallel activities, like I said before. Determine the activity duration. Once you have the list of activities, add with the time tag. This comes the 3. This is 3. Number 1 done, 2, 3. You have to know the activity duration, when to start, when to stop, right? Otherwise, it is misled or confusion, right? At the end, it will be confusion. It may be it is taxed by the project, right? Or it is maybe requirement in the project. And then another thing is how this manager, project manager in charge, or executive in charge, technical leader is leading the project, executing the project is also matter. For that, the duration is important. Which activity, what time it should be finished, whether it's continuing, stopped, or given break, right? Or postpone. This kind of start and end for each and every activity, and the corresponding duration has to be recorded and follow up by the team. Otherwise, we cannot achieve the target of the project. Determine the logical relationships. Yeah. Once you do the duration, right? Your duration is done. Uh, some activities are interdependent, right? One is dependent on another. The activities you sequenced, arranged in order, may have dependency to and fro. You must have a knowledge. That's why the person in charge must be thorough of the activities, right? If you are a trainee, if you are a new, you can still do it, but provided you have a mentor, provided you have support from other parties, friends, colleagues, who is supervising or helping, supporting at times of your fault, right, or your confusion. Then make sure that that kind of setup, arrangement, or the team is formed, so that it is well established for all the factors, understanding the relationship between the factors, and then identify the critical path. Yeah, the later I show you, this is one of the example of a critical path. This like this. You may have to draw a critical path, sequencing, something like this, sequencing. The name call, the method of sequencing, with the time, with deadline, with risk and uncertainties, called critical path. There are two methods, critical path method, and another one is performance PERT and CPM, we say. Critical path method, PERT, PERT and CPM method, performance evaluation based method, something like that is there. But now the critical path will explain how the project is led, where it is stopped, where it is break, where it is a peak period. If you represent pictorially, it is more reaching, more understanding, and then we can make it faster our decisions. Implement the schedule. So having done all these, lay the path, finally implement the schedule. execute the schedule, go back and check one by one, monitor one by one whether it is achieved, whether the objective was achieved with the duration given, time given, and understanding the relationship at times of fall or impact, any impact, and drawing the further steps or following the logical steps until it's achieved. One example of a Gantt chart, we call this as a Gantt chart. Normally, the project management chart is called as Gantt chart. This is for bridge construction, showing an example, one very fair and simple one, explaining how a Gantt chart of a bridge contract is going on. There is a bridge, right? The bridge is the one which is dividing or which is connecting one end to another, right? In between, maybe a water, maybe another track, or a tunnel, or of any appliances, right? Any purpose. So any facility, it is overtopped by a or connected. These two are connected. We cannot reach by a road, right? We cannot reach by a road. We cannot reach by any other means. Then they construct a bridge to connect these two ends so that the flow is continuous. The transportation is continuous. To make this bridge, what they made here, uh, they started with excavation. You must have start, like I said, foundation is the main thing with which all the construction are started. So do the excavation first, right? It is only at the construction, and there are many good things before this. Don't worry, construction is not just this. Uh, but for construction at site, it starts like this. Even at site, there are many works here: site investigation, preliminary works, inspection, everything is there. Assume that all done. Started with excavation, actual activity. The laborers are employed to do the excavation first, piling, foundation, and then the apartments, the foundation structure, the basement structures. In bridges, we call this as apartment. The end pillars are called as apartment. These main pillars are constructed. Maybe in between you may have many, or after other sections may have. At this section, the apartment, the main columns have to be erected. That is the main objective. And then girder, right? The girder is used for building the bridge, and then concrete decking on top, and then finishing, right? So nicely they listed down the main works which consumes time, labor, material, and so on. These are the main classification of sequencing of the work for a bridge construction over the period of time, like sequence of month also sequential, and June, July. If it is year, put for full year. If it is for month, daily, you can put this for monthly or weekly or yearly if it is years. So the what they say, then the first activity has taken June and some days in July. Piling, mid of July finished. Abandonment, end of July finishing. See, there's a overlap. This is called overlap. Abandonment 1 and 2 they have to do together. This also construct, this also to be constructed and erected together. Constructed together. That's why this is going on. Then abandonment 2. After this is continuing till this one, right? Because they finish this and come here. That's why the top finishing work may be a bit delayed for this one. Steel girder, after all done, the steel girder, again the fabrication may be taking place during the apartment construction itself. That's why it is overlapping. After fabrication, they bring to the site. It may be ordering, applying, supplying, all these things, the time taken. And then bringing here another time, and so on. Like this, you can see either one after another or overlapping, coinciding, right? Overlapping or full overlap or half overlap or independent activity, right? Finally, the finishing operation with all getting approval for water supply line, water line, electric line, the drainage lines, all these things will be done here. So it's independent. By October, mid or early October, it is finished. So these are, they have to sequence it and then attach with all the characteristics of the project. It is varying from project to project, so I don't give a very strict one here. Network diagram is another way. This is one way of representing a Gantt chart. Project scheduling can be done like this. Another one, you can put like this. No, this is not a Gantt chart, a part of the Gantt chart. You see here, we can say Critical path, the fifth point, critical path. This is showing you the to correct it there. It is showing you the critical path that is taken by a project. It may or may not have the all the characteristics of project. Okay, you can draw a critical path. Having said, one of the scheduling is to identify the critical path. Although you have the sequencing of work, there may be there is a mandatory requirement to give a pathway over the time. It may be over the time, plotted over the time or over the region and so on. Okay. Started with site clearance is the big issue, big thing. They run for 3 months or one. According to this one, they run for 1 month plus. Then cut and fill. There is another path. Eventually, there is another one, right? There's a parallel activity, excavate from and form culvert, cut and fill. No, this is excavate and form culvert. Here you excavate and here also excavate and fill it to the embankment or the sideways they start filling. All these things will happen together and then place the base, construct the culvert. So some of the activities are like this. If this is dotted line, there is no real activity at the site, but there is a hidden activity, maybe of work at the site, office, or at their contractor subcontractor side or manufacturing end. They're still doing it. They're waiting for receiving the product to be delivered to go for payment and so on. So like this also at the end the project is finished. Once material everything obtained, payment is the roadway is constructed already. So like this also you can take it. Same way you can do for any type of project, computer project, production project, any type of project. Another way is also explained here. Over the week they plotted activity A, week number. They didn't put week number, month A, month B, month C, and over. No, sorry, this is the activity. Over the period March, April, May, the activities are listed and the duration is marked. Okay, I have to show start and end, right? Start and end is important. Maybe they even work even before starting the actual project. That's why the days are not given, right? But actual meeting officially it is recorded from here to start, but there were work done before, even before starting the project. Okay, where are we going? Yeah, full C. Activity C, maybe monitoring la. Monitoring or supervisors work maybe from starting to end. Continuously they are monitoring till the end of the project. Right. A bar chart with critical activities. See here. How many join? One moment, let me check. Way and so on. You can see here. One moment, I go to the slide. Why so many absent today? About 8 plus absent. Don't worry, all these things you have a software. Later I will run through the software, the preliminary, an intro for the software using. In your project, you can make use of the software. It is convenient in every project. But in although the software everything is there, you must get used to. Practice is more important. Otherwise, it is not successful. Even now, we are suffering, especially the online teaching and all. We're still suffering. Cannot achieve the target. Means practice. Practice is more important to be successful, efficient, deliver the class, deliver the course outline, the content within the time given. You see, all this risk has to be handled by practice. Uh, Softwares, you can try any software available online. Today I'll just go through Microsoft later on. Up to 2020 also has come out already, but I show up to 19. Here March, yeah. So they sequence the activities, they put the thing. Here there's a total line, float for activity 3. Float and then installation. Sometimes there are dependent works, right? You see here number one, here there is a dependent activity, there is a float, and here also there is a float. I mean, there may be some output, some output has to be given as input for this one, right? Once they when they do the foundation, right? When they do the foundation, some of the customization has to be repeated or given input to the fabrication yard to do that. So they do go hand in hand. That's why it's repeated. During foundation, there may be a corners which they cannot really construct at the site. They have to redesign it and send it back to fabrication to customize it according to the site condition. And here again, another foundation started completing, almost completed already. Further, the fabrication continues until it is reaching this point. Installation, right? Installation. Yeah, the next level have to wait because of this customization redoing. They have to wait. See here, although the gentleman, the project manager would have prepared to do the installation at this point, because of this site condition change, the hazard that has happened, the changes that has happened at the site during construction, they have to leave another gap. See the changes happening to the project schedule. This is where the engineers have to play a fair role. Once this is disturbed, this is disturbed. Further, the laborers, cars, the loans, everything has to be adjusted accordingly. Have to wait, right? Because redesigning, have to wait for some time until the rework is done, required dimensions are reached, then supply to start the installation. Otherwise, installation would have started here. That is how sometimes the planned one and the actual one will not be matching at that time. This type of project management scheduling or the two online will be very helpful. Yes, many companies, almost all companies in the world, so far I see everyone is using the software. Even the small companies, they have to use, they are using it. It's so convenient to manage all the characteristics of the project. Always remember those points and the characteristics until quality, time, everything. Installation done, then commissioning. Once that this is there is no issues happen here, so they continue with next commissioning. This is one of the example I show you more here. Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia. They also come out with a Gantt chart like this. It was so interesting. That's why I brought here. When I was trying to apply last year, I found this Gantt chart. See here, it's one way of plotting a Gantt chart for this TRH. This is a TRGS sponsored research project. They are funding to academicians and researchers all over the Malaysia to come out with a transdisciplinary problem solving projects. How do they, this is the planning side, this is only the fund provider, right? It is not the project. Fund provider who decided to implement this project scheme also applied the project management skill, management, the Gantt chart. How they started with initiation, planning, execution, control, which is actually applying to the project. Yeah, but it is applying everywhere, even in the, I think there's one, how they handle the project, how they decided, how they planned, how they executed also there. It may be applicable in any stage of the project, maybe planning or funding or releasing funding, execution of a project and so on. But here I see only the execution is written here. It started with initiation, right? The project must go with the initiation, planning, execution, control and closing. Control can be monitoring or implementation and so on. Choose a real problem. Identify three or more fields of a transdisciplinary approach. Nowadays, all our transdisciplinary approach problem is no one is one discipline, right? Single discipline. Study the real problem. So see, this one is connected with this and also with this. Same activity, have to supply output to this one, have to give some information to This one also to come out with a real problem. And then study field, choose a study field. Further, it is applying to develop a new fundamental methodology. See, each and every task inside itself have to have a Gantt chart. Inside, initiation has two, planning has three, your execution has three. Three key areas, key stages, we can say key stages. Control also having four key stages. Closing has two key stages. So you may have a Gantt chart for individual number one, or otherwise you can have a time frame, dedicated time frame across these two activities. Maybe first 3 months you do this one. Total 6 months is given for initiation, means you take 3 months for this and 3 months for this, and so on. Properly supplying and getting the information within the loop. That is important. So what they do, they choose the problem. I go directly in one. They choose the problem, come out with the area, right, which is which area it is applicable, and then the methods and materials, and then the parameters and the features or the factors that is going to affect this project or method. Complete and execute, right? Everything is done here. The parameters are studied already. Project close. Go for publication. Go for revising the policy if necessary. If your project is eye opener, right? Because solving a $1 million question or national problem and have to be reported to the department, the ministries, so that they change the policy, the next 5-year plan, it will be implemented. That is how the government projects are expected to be. Generally, the government projects are like this. Okay. Next, Microsoft project example. This is a video. Let me add with the sound. Any questions so far? Project management. Make it interactive now. If you don't answer, I also keep quiet. Then at the end the problem, the thing is not solved.
Yes.
No question.
Yeah, so far so good.
Mm. If you have any things related to this, your project, current project also, you can raise it up here. Right. Let me share the video. Okay, sound is added now. You can get it. Right. Please listen to this video, short video for how the project management is done using Microsoft Project.
Welcome. Today, we'll be looking at Microsoft Project Pro, a project management tool that offers powerful control and monitoring capabilities at all stages of project development and fulfillment. This video is brought to you by Technology Advice. Our mission is to educate, advise, and connect buyers and sellers of business technology, and one of the ways we do so is by providing unbiased reviews. This video review is for Microsoft Project, a solution that looks to make project management easy and engaging by enabling teams to analyze resources, budgets, and timelines. The challenge for Microsoft Project is to retain its status as the de facto standard for project management software and continue to find customers already using Microsoft clients that are looking for integration for all their systems. This enterprise project management software solution is subscription-based and allows businesses to get up and running with no upfront infrastructure costs. New users, teams, and projects can be added instantly via a web-based portal, allowing companies to scale use as they grow. The interface should be very familiar for most users of Windows products, with the tabs at the bottom and ancillary information in the row below. A majority of the software is geared towards displaying various charts and spreadsheets in the main window that helps users more easily control their projects. Projects are broken up into two main areas: resources and tasks. Resources are typically people included in the project. However, they can also include anything that's used to complete a project, such as equipment. Tasks are what it takes to complete a project and are typically broken up into phases. One of the best features of Microsoft projects is the way in which users can interact with this information. There are multiple view modes that are available in the Team Planner tab of projects. Perhaps the most traditional view, the Gantt chart, displays the task's basic information alongside its duration and assigned resource. Projects has the ability to auto-schedule based on where tasks are dragged throughout the timeline. From there, the allocated time is automatically updated. Resource usage can be used to see when and where deadlines need to be hit in order to complete projects. It's also possible to take a peek at costs, as well as whether projects have started and are running as planned. This view mode is nice because it shows how much time should be devoted to each project for each resource. Task usage is another helpful way of looking at the project breakdown and to more easily see the breakdown of resource and task allocation. One of the many available methods to display your information is the network diagram, which offers the user a more visual display of what needs to be completed to finish the project on time. The calendar is also a different way of visually looking at data and resources. Lastly, Microsoft Project also has several features for creating actionable data with the Reports tab. Made for medium-sized companies to enterprises, Microsoft Project is available at a high price point. One of the limitations we noticed and confirmed from online reviews was that learning how to properly use the software is quite time-consuming. It's also meant for those already familiar with the project management process and can be frustrating for those still learning. In summary, Microsoft Project allows team members to manage tasks, collaborate, and more. Make project management easy by enabling them to analyze resources, budgets, and timelines. And it helps measure progress and anticipate resource needs with out-of-the-box reports. To find out more about Microsoft,
Today we have Microsoft 2019 manuals and free softwares are available online. You may make use of it right from your FIP project, capstone, or we can adapt it. Okay, I stop here for project management. We learn some skills. Hope you learn some skills about developing your project, right? Managing your project with the characteristics. Always remember these characteristics to be in your developing Gantt chart or a schedule for a project. Okay, I go with the second topic for today. Right, I can't say it's a second topic. It is one an important thing that continued, right, or that is that should be there in any project, which is risk management. Project management must have risk management. No risk management, the project management is not complete. Okay, come on, open the slide. What comes to your mind when I say risk? Because it's theory, you have to say, talk, practice new terms. You may be a good speaking an eloquent person, but the technical terms have to be retained in your mind, right, to supply when you write your answers. Come on, answer me. What comes to your mind when you say risk management? And this risk management is covered by CLO4. Analyze. Again, analyze, and no design, create, or nothing. Analyze. Analyze the social and environmental implications of technological developments, including sustainable developments, risk management, and OSHA or OSH issues, occupation safety and health issues. Okay, these are the things going to be covered in CLO4, and this chapter, chapter 3, 3C or D, you can keep it, but according to the logical chapter, right, we are still in project management. It is under the project management. What comes to your mind when I say risk?
Uh, excuse me, doctor.
Yeah.
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
So basically, it's the risk management. For me, in my opinion, it's about control. Let's say any act or practices that may contain any dangerous things against the health or environment or safety.
So in one word, it's a danger. Risk is a danger.
Yes.
Any other? Is risk always a danger? I go from your question answer. Is risk
No, I
always a
don't think so.
dangerous?
No, no, no.
Very good answer. So risk can be a positive, can have a positive end. Like movie, you see cinema movie, it can be a tragic end or comedy end. But risk can also have a positive end. By taking risk, you can become a trillionaire in within short period of time, right? Taking risk, you may end up with many losses. It is all depending on how the individual is handling it. So risk is not always a bad factor or a negative factor. It can also be considered as a positive factor if handled properly, right? It can overturn the project, the company. The company may be at zero level, suddenly boom up to 100% within a year or short interval of time. It's all how you handle the risk, right? The risk is most important, equivalently important in project management. The time you spend for project management should be spent equal time, equal or more time should be spent for analyzing the risk behind the project. For information, the risk is always handled in the beginning of the project. Okay, uh, mainly, and in every project, the risk has to be learned, identified, measured, tabulated, monitored, even from the beginning or zero level of the project. Later, when the failure comes or problems comes, you can face it using this risk management chart, right? Come on, as usual, we have characteristics. Like we studied characteristics of a project. There are characteristics of a risk. No. This is sorry. Not. I'm revising. This one is revision. Revision not data because I just finished. We will have goals, many characteristics here also. Let's see. Started with risk assessment, examples, and management. Right. Let's see what are all the features, what are all the assessment methods. Using examples, I give some simple examples to do. But again, I say I'm not going to quantify or do any kind of calculation here. Right. I may introduce, but better stick with the theory. It is under the scope to learn the theory fundamentals of the risk. We are not doing a separate module on these topics. It's a chapter only. So I don't give any calculation. Please make note of this. So we want to study three headings: risk assessment, the procedure, right, and then the examples, how and the management, risk management with some video. I can explain you how this is handled. It can, there are mathematical methods like when I say risk, is it definite mathematics? Can anyone tell me definite or indefinite? What type of mathematics is it? We must always remember mathematics. That's a very basic and what the backbone of engineers. You know, engineering. Come on, mathematics. What type of mathematics is it? Risk. Can we get the exact answer, exact solution in calculation of risk? Just give me some of your idea. I don't ask the exact answer. My question here is like, exactly what is the area of the cylinder. If the diameter is given, you can, sorry, volume you can find directly. Area of cross section you can find directly if the diameter is given. They're all definite mathematics, right? You have definite answer, right? And then some of the construction, some of the mechanical, we already have a definite solution for this. Like
Prob
this, is
Probability
that,
and statistics.
yeah, what?
Probability and stats
Why use probability instead?
to analyze risk and uncertainty.
So it is unpredictable, isn't it?
Um, in some cases, yeah.
Yeah. Overall, this problem is uncertain. I can say uncertain or indefinite problem. Still quantifiable. We will see how they are. But the problem is not a definite problem. You can only predict, like our friend said, what's your name? Just now.
Arkham.
Huh?
Arkham.
Aricon. Okay. Like Aricon said, it is only calculated based on statistics and probabilistic method. Means what? There is no definite solution. Wherever there is no solution, mostly the natural phenomena all will fall under this category. Have to be handled by using statics and probabilistic method. When I say statics and probabilistic method, immediately you think of whether it is a quantitative or qualitative. I answer right now, this can be handled both. Risk analysis can be done both qualitatively and quantitatively. Again, the answer for qualitative, qualitative means you use all the quality terms, English words, good, bad, the risk is very high, low, medium, moderate, tolerable, like that. And with the Rickert scale also you can use it, by
Doctor,
scaling. Huh?
Doctor, by using simulator, right? Simulation software in these days, they usually depend on the simulation in order to know the uncertainty and the risk. Am I right?
Simulation software are there, but it is problem specific, you see.
Because
Nowadays,
simulation also depend on mathematics, I think, numerical.
if it is numerical, yes, risk can be calculated because numerical is also already an approximation method. Yes. Two different, you are talking about two different methods. One is the simulation. Simulation, to my knowledge, it is based on it is computer based, isn't it?
No, it's about numerical techniques. Usually the simulations or simulators, they use a mathematical methods like numerical techniques in order to calculate or predict, let's say, prediction of the future or prediction of something that it will be uncertain.
Yeah. You are talking about the simulation word is for the action, right? Yeah. Numerical methods also considered as a prediction method because it's giving you the approximate value, right? You can simulate or what you call the process and say what may be the answer, right? Again, this numerical method also based on statistics and probabilistic methods for information. The distribution, everything based on what type of distribution, Gaussian or bell shape, or what type of distribution it is, whether skew to right or skew to left. All these things are included in that. And then there are some what do you call, knowing the answer, like statistics, you know, don't know the answer, but in numerical, you know, sometimes you know the answer, you try to fit in the variable within this answer. There are different procedure for numerical method. It's totally different procedure. It is better to be separate lah. Numerical method can also be applied, right? That's it, because it is an approximation method. And then another method is statistics and probabilistic. This is another method which can predict, which can be used for predict, where you don't have the correct answer, exact answer or optimal answer, you can still adapt it. And then simulation, if you use that kind of process in numerical, yes, numerical simulation also possible.
Also, if you don't mind, I can add one thing also. I think the decline curve analysis. Also, this is a one method to predict the
What analysis?
decline curve.
Under?
It's the name of this method. It's usually it's a method. They usually use it in order to predict how I can say the decline. Yeah, the decline in some specific parameters. Let's say maybe in the economy.
Yeah, there may be number of methods, but again the basis, the equation that they are using must be from statics or probabilistic.
Okay, okay.
That is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is
yeah.
predicted basis. You may not see the equation. You may see a ready-made graph or just click and get the graph or like that.
Yes, yes, yes.
But the basis should be statistics. Huh?
Okay.
We have to depend on that because it is not an exact method. But having said that, we are using the statistics. It is more not an optimistic value, right? Wherein all the threats and all the unexpected things are happening. Hence, engineers today still are not successful in some areas. But we are successful, yes, we are successful in many areas. Many engineers have made impossible to possible, but with great risk and hazards involved in. That is where you have to be careful. And engineers, you have to also know what is it and what is the background, how to estimate, how to be prepared. And some information I brought down here. Let's go through these. Risk is, I don't know the definition like this, an unwanted negative consequence of an event of which the possible undesirable outcome can be identified, predicted, and quantified. Okay, we follow the text. Text. There's a text definition says always unwanted. We don't want risk. We want smooth flowing. Taking risk as a negative or drawing down, the impact is negative. In that case, the risk is defined as unwanted negative consequence of an event of which maybe a flood, right? Maybe money value down, which the possible undesirable outcome can be identified. In this case, it's still identifiable, predictable. Prediction is always a rough value, not optimal value, and this learn for long term, maybe for a year and so on. Quantify, still quantifiable. That is what we learn from here. Uncertainty, on the other hand, is an unknown situation where its possible outcome cannot be analyzed or predicted, like weather uncertainty. Although we predicted that it is every day you're getting forecast, right? Now, what is the rain? What is the RH value? What is the sunshine? What is the wind? All you get it. Still, you cannot depend on it because there are uncertainty. But for your information, because of need of what, we have very successful and powerful software to predict. I mean, forecast. Forecast is a short-term prediction. Predict is a long-term. When I use the word predict, it's a long-term. Forecast means short-term. So 3 days, 3 days even we are very successful. Asian, the two Asian who are vulnerable, who are living in vulnerable societies like Nepal, right? Nepal, Thailand, and then Myanmar, all those people surrounding that area, Bangladesh, they are now very well versed in developing the software and they are successful up to 3 days. But beyond that, it is not predictable. That is called uncertainty. And this uncertainty, gentleman, is always giving a threat to the risk. He has already quantified and he is prepared for that. But because of this uncertainty, may affect the risk value, may have to adjust the tables and solutions and the outcome of the risk table to be revised or monitored or reworked. Okay, that is why the two different terms are going together. You must understand the difference. I repeat, risk is an unwanted thing which is identifiable, predictable, or quantifiable. Uncertainty, not identifiable, not quantifiable, cannot predict all of a sudden, right? Like tsunami, all of a sudden. Weather uncertainty is one example. Any other? Pandemic and come up pandemic you can put. We never expected, right? Really, we never expected. Come up pandemic you can put. Endemic and epidemic we can predict. Endemic, few people affected we can just identify. And then pandemic, I mean the epidemic also, the region wise also is still controllable. When it becomes pandemic, we do not know where it is going, where it is, how to control. All these things are uncertain. What can you do about the risk? Yeah, having known the it's an unwanted, it's a threat to the project, it's a hazard to the project, there is a consequence, likelihood of failures, you should know what is it. Risk lends itself to statistical analysis because I don't have the data. That is the problem. I don't, so not data. Just now, our friend said simulation. You cannot use the word here actually. It means simulation means you already have the equation. You have some equation, you simulate it. You have input, you have process method, and you get the output. That is simulation. Simulation may be a predicting one also, but still you have some equation. But in this case, statistical analysis, no equation, static equation. Quantifying risk, there is no static equation. Keep changing from topic to topic, problem to problem, and the same problem this year is valid to next year, the same equation is not valid. Like that, the risk is very not a stable one. Hence, you have uncertain, mainly uncertain, more uncertainty involved. Hence, you must go for statistical analysis. Risk can be statistically analyzed for being prepared to face it. Yeah. Yeah, we must have at least one method to, at least some method, some solution to this pollution. Hence, statistical method have to be prepared, have to be used for facing the risk. The method of resolving risk, or you can be eliminated, reduced, transferred to a third party at cost. We can talk many things here, interesting topics. This one, managed for a profit. Each and everything, these are the guideline for how to handle the risk, and each and everything it depends on the kind of project, situation of project, people, region, um, the duration, everything is there. Number one, I give explanation, you please give me the example. I'm also having, but you should also give examples, then it is more interactive. You can remember the method of resolving risk. How to solve? uh, Eliminate, just ignore, right? Avoid, try to avoid by making an optimal design, exact design, and have a very good owner, very good party involved, so that they don't change time to time their mind, or they're not greedy in changing the design, or so and so on. And they are choose the duration, very less duration, so that your risk is eliminated. You will finish in within before the season, or after, and ready for the season to be marketed. All those things you design, plan, put in action such a way that it can be totally eliminated, can be reduced. Have some preparatory measure. Flood, I cannot really manage. Have some floodplains, right? Constructions. Nottingham in 2004, I think, yeah, around 4 they got 1,000-year flood. Meaning what? The flood which will repeat every 1,000 years. The 1,000 years, when I say, the quantity is also very high, right? It is not like Malaysian rain, every day drizzle or little rain. You get some 5 centimeter, maximum 5 centimeter, 1 centimeter, 1.23, right? It is not like a daily rain. It's 1,000-year flood means once in 1,000 year only you can see that quantity. So much flood happened, and they still survived. They still protected. How? They had a floodplain. They had a flood walls constructed at that region. With that, they are able to protect their community with this preparedness. So try to reduce it. It is not that totally protected. Somehow they are managing, even for that very big threat happened in 2004 in UK because of floodplain. I mean, I cannot explain too much, but flood wall, imagine flood wall, protection wall to the floodplain areas, which in turn will affect the inland. They had a flood wall to protect the water coming into the inland. Transfer to a third party at a cost. Yeah, transfer to I myself have a case on this. So transfer to a third party at a cost, right? If you feel that there is a risk handling myself, right? Or I give the example, the party is there, right? Suddenly there is something happened to the party. There are team of people, project people, or inventors. The main person is left the project, or pass away. All, how to manage? Suddenly you can transfer to another party, right? Or transfer to the Keturunan, like ancestors can take over at some cost, so that the royalty, everything is preserved, and the risk is resolved, right? The risk in it is also resolved, and he has to be, the person who is transferring will be free of any risk, at the same time gaining out of this risk. Managed for a profit. Yeah. Okay, either you transfer, or the same thing like this one. In the transfer itself, you tag it, you add the parties. Instead of totally transferring the royalty, you just add the party, take part for 10%, only involved in royalty, not in production or any other means. Supplying people, meetings, attending meetings, or involving their activities. Just have only a percentage of royalty. It, when it is sold, 20% must come to me, 80% you can take, something like that. Kind of a sharing property. With that you can make some profit, right? Not just totally transferring, you can make some profit, at the same time you gain. Okay, what are other bodies that is involving in risk management? Okay, which parties? Every country, almost every companies and every outlet must have the risk management team. Risk management practices should be in place. Risk management proper practices are widely used in public and private sectors, covering a wide range of activities or operation. Whenever there is a complex activity involved, right? People involved, money involved. Actually speaking, this risk was way back in last century. I remember they started this risk story, assessing risk, managing risk based on the person, people, to safeguard people again the natural events. Safeguard people, they started this risk management practices, and then coming to the money, and then can now come to the environment, saving environment. Also you need to know risk management. Yeah, at that time now it's I explain all of you later, if not now or later, if you see the goal, SDG goals, the photograph, in the goal photograph itself and the framework itself, if you see, there are color coding. You can see the color coding. Having said this, 17 crises of the global, they are also given the color coding. That means what, they also estimated the risk. That's a very good example, standing example for you now, whether the risk is practiced in UNDP or not, right? So these 193 countries, they joined together to solve the global problems, 17 global problems. They also assess the risks. You can see in the posters, those framework, the color coding. There are some green, some yellow, some red. Later we'll see the color coding. Each one is referring to only solved, in process, or dangerous, unsolvable, or no solution yet. Like that, any project, any company, any policy, global, either global or local or regional, must have risk assessment done. Here in some of the companies and some of the parties must have of finance and investment, insurance, healthcare, public institutions, educations, and the set outcome should be achieved by the student. All must get employed. If the employability is the set mission and vision of the university, must prove students are getting employed. Make sure everybody is getting employed. Stakeholders are powerful to get them or support them in their graduate after graduation, and then standing as an example, a role model for the sustainability of the project or the institution, governments, construction, research center, any industries, all must practice. Just remember these things, remember these words, English words. Uh, I don't exactly, if in case if asked, you don't have to exactly give, but at least cover all this list, right? It has one from finance and from safety, like the insurance, health, public institutions, education, government, like the main activities. In any country, construction is the topmost industry, I think second industry after IT. Construction is the second industry who is booming up in each and every, or the GDP is due to construction. You can check if I'm wrong, but in overall, next to IT, construction is the number two gaining income to the country, right? Research center, any study center, and any other industry, process industry, production industry, manufacturing, or retail, or any type. Okay, warehouse also big people in making product, doing production and also waste. This is one way of quantifying risk. Here showing a one way of quantifying risk, qualitative method. Okay, qualitative method means these words are used, grades are used, percentages are used. Quantitative means no, grades are used, not percentage. When you go to quantity, you can see clearly a percentage. Later, I don't know whether I include here or not. Every department, the environment department, they will have a floodplain map. Floodplain map says when you go to buy a project, your house, you or your dad or your family member are going to buy a property, must check right? Counter check whether the property is lying at the floodplain or not, flood prone areas or not. Malaysia or any country, they have their own map updated every 3 years. At least every 3 years they update it. Flood prone areas, wherever the flood is. Unfortunately, if the project is sitting on the floodplain, you know what is the consequence. Hence, has to be checked. And this flood mapping is in terms of percentage. Later I show you. Is nicely written in between the quantity of flood and the design flood which is going to occur, whether 10-year flood, 100-year flood or 200-year flood, and what is the probability of occurrence next 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 10 years. It is plotted like this. I will show the map later on, but I repeat, it can be qualitatively identified and quantified, I mean measured, or quantitatively. Quantity means percentage, number, ratio, yet we do not have an exact answer. If you people, right, in future, you people, by applying different AI technology, mixing technology, right, mathematics and IT put together, IT technologies put together. IT is also based on mathematics, right? Fuzzy logic, you study fuzzy sets and what is crisp set, what is fuzzy set, what is the mathematics behind, you have to study. Everything is based on mathematics. But uh, computer gadgets, right? The existing computer gadgets, combination of hybrid version of these can give you a better solution or exact, near exact solution for any problem. Maybe you can come out with a new solution for your future research or your studies. But currently we have only this percentage. We end up with percentage. 80% probability that it may occur, may not occur. That is the answer we have right now. Okay, right. Mm, it can be plotted like this. You see, just now I told about the color coding. The risk. I borrowed this one. It's very simple and explanatory. That's why I borrowed this one. Method. This is the matrix, a square matrix. If you plot the likelihood here, consequence here. Likelihood means the risk, the chances of losing or gaining. This is impact, consequence or result or impact of any event, right? Impact may be good or bad. Mostly it's bad. That's why you have to identify before, right? When you plot between this likelihood or a chances of failure to the impact or consequence of that event, the zero started, the value zero started. Imagine that I put the zero here. The graph starts like the zero, and it is increasing to maximum, max value. And then again zero started. It is increasing to a maximum consequence, consequence y-axis, and this one is x-axis. This is maximum. This is max for x-axis. Okay, because the value is there, I can also put there. One moment. So when you plot between these factors, you will have the answers clearly done for your uh, percentage, or you can find out qualitatively whether it is okay or not okay, what should be done. All this planning can be easily handled by means of this. Okay, I put the max here. Okay, y starts from 0 to max here, x starts 0 to max here. When you plot it, and then all the greens are low values, low values. When the value is here and here, it is here. When the value is here, x is here, y is here. I mean the y is here, x is here, and here. So just join these 2 points. You will end up with either low, medium, or very high thread. Okay, let's do with an example. It's a very good example. I saw. I can explain here from here. Consequence and likelihood. Consequence times, it's a time. Consequence times likelihood is results in risk. When you plotted the matrix like this, right? Just now I told you start from 0 to high and 0 to high for consequence. You can quantify the risk in qualitative terms like this. Number one, how is it? I repeat, the equation for risk is like this. Consequence times the likelihood, right? In doing so, let's understand the variables. If there is one gentleman, take a road travel, the accidents, right? Road accidents, I don't know number. Road accidents again, the within five, I think, within five, road accidents are the major one which is causing number of deaths in a country. I forgot, really forgotten, third or fourth road accidents. Okay, and you know what are the reasons, right? I don't know to explain much on this thing, sociological, right? The reason for accidents, there are so many, but there is a one table, a risk assessment for road accidents. What will happen, how will happen, why, and how it is happening. Start from, if there is a one gentleman going on the road on bicycle, right? The risk will be, when you mark here, the chances of failure will be very low, right? And my point is here, and then the consequence will be very low. Consequence will be very low. Joining these two, I will get a very low point, isn't it? On the other hand, if there is a truck, right? If there is a truck is a huge structure, right? Truck is a huge structure. So the likelihood of the likely chances of failure is low. At this point, chance of failure is low. But the consequence will be very high. You see, the consequence is very high because it's a truck. The point is not here, the point moved already. I repeat, the point I take for the truck, I think is still low because one truck only. Likelihood of chances, I mean the accidents, failures will be low. But even if it is low, but the consequence will be the point here. The consequence will be here. The chances are here. Chances of failure is low because only one truck on the road. But the consequence will be high, staying here. So the line joins here. So the percentage of risk increases because of this high consequence, high impact, right? This is a risk 2. I'll classify one by one. This is risk 1. Coming to risk 3, the same bicycle. There are many bicycle wala on the road, right? So chances of accidents, many bicycle who occupy the road already, chance of collision, crash, overtaking, right, hitting, all these things will be very high. The chances are very high. The point is here somewhere. But the consequence of the impact, because of the bicycle, right, the impact will be very low because they just hardly skid or just hit with each other, some scratches, some wounds, little wounds, right? Not breaking a lot, isn't it? Some wounds, some scratches. So the consequence of this bicycler will be very low at this standing at this point. So joining these 2 points, you will have the point merge here, risk 3. So I know the value of risk is low overall. Value of risk overall is low with high consequence. I mean, what do you call, high chances of failure. The threat is less. Coming to trucks, many trucks on the road, both are high. So my point is here. My x is here, y is here. Meeting this point, I get a very big one, which is R4, isn't it? My R4 is here. Both are meeting at this point. So I have to be careful in many trucks on the road, which causes the highest risk, isn't it? What happened? Risk 4 is very high. You may have to quantify properly, right? And care should be taken whenever there is there are many trucks on the road. Because of this high consequence and high likelihood, end up with high risk. So any one factor is high, also end up with risk. Both low risk. It's a product. So try to tabulate like this with the numbers. Later when you put the numbers, you will get all the numbers here, or percentage here. Then becomes a quantitative analysis. Finally, risk is defined as likelihood times the consequence, or chance of failure to impact, chances of failure to the dangers or hazards, the consequences, input, nothing like this is not related here. Come on. Risk management. Having understood what is the meaning of risk and how it is qualitatively understood, right, by matrices. Next comes the risk management. How are you going to manage the risk? Today there is no quizzes. I have to finish this. Please pardon me. Next week, next class we will conduct it. Risk management should be a good management practice. Process steps that enable improvement in decision making, right? Process steps that enable improvement in decision making. Yeah. A logical and systematic approach, identifying opportunities, avoiding or minimizing losses. Why you need important, why you need this risk management, and what is risk management is written here. A logical and systematic approach. Yeah, like your project management, you may apply all the skills of project management here, but more than that, yes.
ஆமா ஆமா அவ்வளவுதான் என்ன ஒரு மாசம் தானே
Hello, 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 hello.
ஆகஸ்டா முடியுது ஆகஸ்ட்
What happened to this gentleman? You're worried about the semester ending, right? Improvement in decision making. So once you have the risk management practices, your decision making is optimized, right? Especially at times of threats. A logical and systematic approach, right? Must have a logical and systematic approach. Like the one I said, whenever there is a break at one point, you don't attend at that point, fixing at that point. 2-3 days later, you may have a break again at the same place or some other place. Go for holistic approach, systematic approach. Systematic approach, that's the reason I written here. I think. Systematic approach means this one. Systematic approach is referring to there is a system means it must have these three. An input, an output defined by process. The process may be gray, blue, black, white, anything of that matter. If gray, you have job. You engineers have to find out why it is gray. Make it black and white. Clear-cut methodology, right? Like whether you use the numerical method or statistical method, computational method, software, or analytical method. Find out the methodology or the material which suits, and then you can get out of the produce your output end product. Must be systematic. That is why whenever I say the systematic, whenever you read systematic anywhere, you remember this point. Check yourself whether you have all these three entities: input, process, and output. Okay, identifying opportunities. Yeah, because we have threat. We have threat. You know, the one time just now I told you the risk can be analyzed by qualitative and quantitative, right? In qualitative, they always use what is called SWOT. There are so many terms nowadays. Interesting terms has come out, but we still live with this one. SWOT analysis. To measure the risk, they always use what is called SWOT analysis, not SWOT analysis, SWOT. Strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. Whenever there's a problem happen or going to happen, right? Assuming that it's going to happen, analyze all these things, right? What is the strength? What is the weakness? What are the opportunities you have? What are the threats behind, right? Each one can be big or slow or moderate, right? And then opportunities can be again big or small or moderate. Your actions, after all done SWOT analysis, you must come out with an action plan, and your action plan cannot be need not be always 100% achieving. You just start with the 20%. Say in my action plan is to improve 20% in another 1 year or 6 months production rate, then slowly building up to 100%, right? The action plan, many companies and many engineers, the staffs in charge for the risk management, they are worried about the action. The end of SWOT analysis is to get an action plan. What are you going to do? In the action plan, don't think that you must always achieve 100. No need. You start with 20% achievement. Slowly you grow your percentage of achievement. With that, you are overcoming your risk. Right. Identifying opportunities. Yes. When you identify opportunities, you are finding the ways and means to solve. Right. In addition to all those 4 things I told you, how do you manage risk, Annie? Always remember these 4 things. In addition to these 4 methods of managing risk, find out the opportunities which can reduce your threat, which can reduce your weaknesses and strengthen your viewpoints, right? Or your project materials matters. Avoiding or minimizing losses, right? Avoiding and minimizing losses. So once you have the systematic approach, identify the opportunities, reduce the threats, reduce the weaknesses, you can avoid, minimize losses, improve the production. Yes, 5 more minutes. I will close sharply. Don't worry. Risk management is the name given to a. Any questions so far? Okay. Risk management is the name. Anytime you stop and unmute and then ask question if you have. Risk management is the name given to logical and systematic method of identifying, analyzing, treating, and monitoring the risk involved in any activity or process. So we had risk definition before, an unwanted, right? Unwanted event, which will end up with some consequence and so on. Now the management definition for management. What is risk management? It's a logical and systematic method of identifying, analyzing, treating, and monitoring the risk involved in any activity or process. So we had defined already, we know that there is a risk, right? We are always think of this planning and management in the beginning of the project, in the preliminary stage of the project itself, initiation of the project itself. Hence, the risk should be known to you, familiar to you. You have the knowledge on this, then only you can start the project. Having the knowledge about the project, you should also know the negative events or the risk. Positive one also you should know. It is not always the losing event. Gaining events. What are the gaining events? Lead points, right? The selling points. All these things have to be properly identified, analyzed, quantified, and then monitor all through the project to be sustainable, a project or a project manager. Right. Risk management is a methodology that helps managers make the best use of their available resources. Yeah. Once you know what is going to happen, you stock enough within the expiry time, right? You are prepared. The management not only identifying preparedness. Once you do everything, every operation of the risk, you are well prepared to face the danger. Yeah, see, 2 things they say, usual norms, usual way of talking, right? The phrases and that we use, colloquially we use, either you be away or be facing, right? You should be ready to face. Either you face it or be away. So natural phenomenon we cannot avoid. This kind of pandemic we cannot avoid. And money, what do you call the fluctuation in money value also we cannot control, right? It's a global, again uncertain. In that case, be ready, be facing, be ready for any such situation that is happening by having proper management, by having proper, that is called, I've forgotten the term, nice term for contingency plan. Yep. Contingency plan should be there at each and every level of managing the risk. With that, you are successful. I stop here. Any question you can ask me. There are 3 more minutes. You cannot keep on talking. Project is going on well. I have given 2. Let me share the screen and explain you what you have to do. I request you to go through these 2 files. One moment. Then and then please keep updating these 2 files. You have any question, appointment needed for the project discussion? Okay, there is a new today no rule. I think someone talked to me. They have clearly mentioned about it. It's good. In your submission, I am going to give you the link for submission of your PowerPoint slides and so on for your presentation. And the project report you completely submit to the Turnitin. All entire report you just submit it. Don't worry about the plagiarism for the just the heading, the common words, don't worry about, right? Unless it is a paragraph, big paragraph, 2 lines, 3 lines, copied exactly from the report, it is plagiarism. Otherwise, just ignore and submit it. Okay, I will write clearly the information on the posting later on. Because this morning only I got it. Yeah, there are 2 files I request you to fill up then and there whenever you get time. It will be very helpful. This is number 1. I'll go one by one. I have 1 more minute. I will finish before that. Right. Keep updating this file. Your problems faced in the project, or it can be of any type. I don't know who is writing. Don't worry. So it is very very helpful media to interact between lecturer and project people. Uh, you either it may be about the problem, about the people involved. Say right now, don't come at the time of presentation saying that my partner didn't do the conclusion part. I don't have conclusion part. I don't have this data because my partner didn't do. No such complaint later on. Please do it right now here. You can just put it as X and Y also can find. I will know what is happening, right? Any problem related to the partners, the content, the title, the data available, everything you discuss with me here. Right, one by one I will answer. The red lines are my answers. These are your questions. So we are in touch with this. Okay, you write the question, get it answered to this media. If it is less, you need a long lengthy discussion with your partners, you can get an appointment. That is one thing. The last one I want to say about another file. It's all in the, I already shared. If you want, I share once again. But if you go to see here, I show here the file section in your class team. It's already here under class materials. It's here. And then student feedback. This is project student feedback. Please keep updating me. You can even mention the name. If it is my class, you put my name. If it is Dr. Ben class, you can mention. Important that we keep updating whether your teaching material is okay, learning material is okay, method of teaching okay, assessments okay, any problem faced during midterm or before, after, and any other comments of the module. Please jot down then and there whenever you get time. Keep us informed for better learning environment. Okay, I stop here. Thank you so much for your time and the comments shortly. You please give the comments so that we are in touch. Because you are 135 plus 140 plus, right? This kind of platform can help us keep in touch always, right? Okay.